What's good, everyone? Scout Team Sports, your host of Value, back at it again. And we are live here for another week of Scout Team Sports. Appreciate all my subscribers. Please continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate you helping me to grow this channel here. As I stated, we'll get into the stuff that I touched on in the midweek scramble, but definitely want to I talk about believe until you stop breathing. I have a prayer channel. That's pretty real for me as far as why I say that. Wanted to say I have something to say that really meant something to me and to anybody watching and listening, if you really did understand it. Believe until you stop breathing. What I've been through, what I'm still going through, on a personal level, on a life level. To believe, to continue to pursue what it is that you're trying to pursue, regardless of what you have to go through, whether it was your fault or not. So, again, appreciate everybody for who would listen to this, who will listen to this and watch this. This is sports talk. This is what it is. It's sports talk. And we're going with NBA and NFL today. The NFL part is going to be free agency. We're going to have to break that up because I could be on that for hours and hours and hours. So we're going to have to break that up into parts leading up to the draft as well. Also, and then by that time, there will be probably some pieces that fall into place as far as some players being off the market once they sign with the team for free agency. But we'll get into, I would say, the top half, or not the top half, just the top couple of free agents. But we'll start with NBA. I did touch on Wemby. Look, I'm not here to hate on Wemby as far as how good he is and his potential. But, when they talk about the rookie of the year and things of that nature, and look, the number one draft pick, the hottest rookie or touted rookie doesn't always pan out. I mean, see Ben Simmons, everybody thought he was going to be great when he finally started playing, and there was flashes that you saw throughout his career, but nothing really to where it was just steady, consistently rising up. To me, the whole rookie of the year thing, especially in the NBA, when a really good player goes to a bad team, it really doesn't make a difference unless you have the right coaching and you're on the right team. The Spurs are a shell of what they used to be. And I really do think that I don't know why Popovich is holding on for so long. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, he's already done everything that he can do. He's already given everything that he can give. I don't see why he just, doesn't let it go. And I'm surprised the Spurs haven't let him go yet. I know, he's won them 5 championships. He's had, incredible players on this team that are, future Hall of Famers. But, I don't see why he's still there. I don't see why he's still there. And, when it comes to Wemby, I'm sure there's some knowledgeable things that he can teach him. Of course, because, one of the greatest coaches in basketball history. And, from a mentor standpoint, but, as a coach and putting him in the best position to win and be successful and grow and develop, I think there's a strong or strict ceiling to that, to what Coach Popovich can do with a guy like Wemby on a really bad team. So I think, once Wemby gets on a team that's halfway decent, because he can't do it by himself. He can't win a championship by himself. Even if he's improving, he needs more than just Coach Popovich around him in order for him to improve. He needs players that will, that are good as well, and they work together. And, super teams became a thing for a reason. You need more than one good player. You need more than one great player. You at least need a great player and several good players, and the Spurs have none of that outside of Wemby, who's still developing. So I really don't get caught up in the whole, rookie of the year and the superstar that Comes, as a first round draft pick, first overall draft pick, and he's touted to be the greatest thing since LeBron, or the greatest thing since Jordan, or the greatest thing since Kobe, or the greatest thing to whoever he's compared to. Because there's just not, it's like, what are we looking at? I mean, like I said, and even what he shows as flashes of goodness, what's that going to translate to when he gets to a good team and he has to share the ball? Everybody knows the team is horrible, so all they do is pass to Wemby and let him shine because he has to carry the team because he's the only good player on the team, and they still lose. What is that really doing? How he's got to learn how to work with good players. There's a difference. You got to learn how to work with good players. You got to learn how to share the ball. You're not always going to have the ball. You got to learn how to be effective in helping the team when you don't have the ball on offense. And you got to learn how to be effective on the team when you're not the one blocking the shot on defense or something like that. There's so many facets to it, to becoming a great player. And I don't think you can really do that with the team that Wemby's on right now. So that's why I don't put too much stock into Rookie of the Year. And it's like Rookie of the Year on a bad team. It's like, I dare say a better rookie would be one who works well with good players, one who does well and is able to adapt to a team with that they're good and they're competitive, and he learns how to find his place in that team. And whether it's starting off as a role player and being a key cog in the team's success as a role player. Not that impresses me more than a really good rookie who's on a horrible team and he's shining because, yeah, he's getting all the stats because everybody else on the team is bad. That doesn't impress me personally. So anyway, again, that's not a knock against Wemby, but the whole evaluation of how they, are going to say who's the Rookie of the Year. I disagree with that overall. But anyway, I did see the end of the Lakers game last night. Very, very nice, very good win for the Lakers to win without LeBron, beating Giannis and the Bucks. AD stepping up, going toe-to-toe, back and forth with Giannis, even blocking his shot. That was nice. I don't know. I just seemed like the Bucks and Giannis and it just seemed like they were off a little bit. I mean, I know they'll be back. I know they'll be. I know that Giannis and Dame, they'll be in the playoffs. They'll be deep in the playoffs. But it just seemed like they were off last night, and they should have really beaten the Lakers bad without LeBron, and they didn't. And it's a testament to the Lakers stepping up, knowing that they, I think sometimes that works in their favor. When LeBron is not playing and the opposing team knows that LeBron is not playing, perhaps they can catch that team off guard. The Lakers can, because that team then starts to soften up, ease up, thinking, oh, yeah, we got this game in the bag because LeBron's not playing. And so all they got is AD, and he's not really a leader, and he might be hurt half the time, and half the time he doesn't play well, and there's nobody else who can beat us, especially if we got somebody like Giannis and Dame. There's no way we can lose, and then they go with that back and forth battle. And yeah, that was really nice to see. That was really nice to see. And then you have, hold on, let me see. You got D'Angelo Russell with his career high as a Laker, 44 points. And of course, knocking down that floater at the end. Very, very nice, knocking down that floater at the end. And just realizing, I think he understands when, what you can do off a pick and roll when a big man doesn't know what he's supposed to do on the opposite team. So he took advantage of that. And I was surprised that Dame was I don't know if Dame was gassed or not, but it just I figured Dame would have been playing a little bit tighter defense on D-Russ. But D-Russ was just smart as far as play off the pick and roll, fake it out, fake it and make sure that you just get on one side of Dame as your defender. And then you put that in, then you put it away with the floater. And then on the opposite end, Dinwiddie coming with the block shot at the end to seal the game against Dame. That was great. That was really nice. I told people, like, first of all, I've always been against the whole step back nonsense. I'm trying to keep it PG here. The step back nonsense as far as, step back shot. And first of all, it's traveling. It's traveling. I don't care what you say. It's traveling. And so I'm just like, man, sometimes, and I'm glad that, I'm not against Dame as a player. I'm not a Laker fan, but what I'm saying is, that whole step back. If people start to catch how to really defend against the step back, and just all of a sudden eliminate it to the point where people don't want to use it anymore, and it eventually just erodes from the game, I'm all for that. Because to me, it's cheating. First of all, it's traveling. You're getting away with it. And then when you try to do it all the time, and then people block your shot, hopefully that will discourage them from doing it. So Dame, I figured he'd have been better than that. If the game is on the line, he's got to knock down a shot. I guess he figured, since he thinks he's better than Dinwiddie, then a step back was going to work. To me, there were so many other better shots that he could have taken other than a step back. And yeah, he got caught for it. So I'm happy. Good for Dinwiddie for catching that and playing tight defense on him to where he wouldn't allow a step back to beat him. So that was nice. That was nice. But we're getting into the NFL now as the NBA continues to march on toward the playoffs. But we will get back to that next week and get to the NFL free agency. Now, first of all, when it comes to the top 101, they want to say 101 now instead of 100, free agents, I disagree with who the number one free agent is, but we'll get right to that right now because they're both, who I think is number one and who they have as number one, they're both defensive tackles. Chris Jones of the Chiefs, or formerly of the Chiefs, is touted as the number one overall highest ranking free agent on the market. At age 30, they're saying it would have cost the Chiefs approximately a $32 million franchise tag to place it on Chris Jones, which is why that option always seems so unlikely. Arguably the greatest playoff defensive player of his generation, might actually change teams. It's arguably because the writers on NFL.com bring it up. But no, he's not the greatest defensive player of his generation. Come on now. I mean, even amongst D tackles, that's still arguable. Don't put him as the all-overall defensive player. No. Just because he's on a team that won a bunch of Super Bowls, let's not forget, first of all, he was they couldn't get a deal done before the start of this past season, and then he went ahead and signed late. And the defense stepped up this year. But let's not forget, against the Eagles, the Chiefs defense was trash. They were being bullied. And the only reason they got that defensive touchdown was because the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, fumbled the ball on his own without even being hit or contacted by a Chiefs defender. He messed up himself running backwards, and the way he was holding the ball, hit it up against his leg and lost the ball. And still, it was a 38-35 victory for the Chiefs. That doesn't scream defense. And Chris Jones was there. And he was arguing with the defensive coach. He was arguing with Coach Spag that whole time because they were getting embarrassed by the Eagles offense. You want to go back to the year before that when they got embarrassed in the Super Bowl by the Bucs? You want to go back to the year before that when they beat the 49ers the first time? And we're jumping over the year that they didn't make it when it was the Bengals beat them in the AFC Championship game. But even in that game, they caught a break because the Niners didn't want to run the football anymore and want to start passing the ball when they were ahead. And the Niners basically beat themselves in that Super Bowl. I think he's overrated. I think Chris Jones is overrated for what they're saying he is. Now, this strong showing, the defense as a whole got so much better this past season. And it wasn't even that good when the season first started, but they gradually became this rough and tough thing that I haven't seen since Pat Mahomes has been there. That's the best defense that Pat Mahomes has had since he's been the starter of the Chiefs. Other than that, he's basically had to almost do it by himself, winning shootouts like he did against the Eagles. But Chris Jones, to me, is not the number one defensive tackle. The number one defensive tackle and the number one defensive player, in my opinion, is Christian Wilkins. And I'm hoping the Raiders go get him. Christian Wilkins, able to play against the run at a high level, coming off a career-high 61 pressures. The Dolphins did him a huge favor by choosing not to place him on the franchise tag because he's set to become one of the highest paid interior defensive linemen in football. Understood, but to me, he's worth it because it's not just stopping the run. And I get this is a passing league, so you're thinking, okay, well, what's the big deal about stopping the run? Look, teams still need to run the football. They need to run the football. And what people don't understand about even in a pass-happy league, if you don't have a running game to at least offset the defense, to fake them out sometimes, to make them think about the run, to respect the run, you have no play action. 2, the defensive linemen will then just pin their ears back and they know it's pass rush every time. And eventually somebody's going to get through and get to the quarterback. You can't not have a running game. But if you got somebody who's going to terrorize the running game, stuff the running game, and all you're left with is the pass, it's harder, much harder to be successful, even in a passing league. Because think about it. If it's a passing league, what are most defenses? Think about defensive schemes, defensive plays. If it's a passing league, then most of what they do is geared to stop the pass. They're not going to just, we have 5 defensive schemes and plays to stop the pass and 5 defensive schemes and plays to stop the run. No, they're going to have about 8 to 3. 8 pass, 3, that's 11, but 7 pass, 3 run. But those runs can be critical because those runs could say, get you in 3rd and shorts. Those runs could break for, if you got a defense that is so keying in on the pass, and so you start taking out linebackers and you put in extra DBs, and then you get a decent running game, you get a decent offensive line that can get to the second level and start blocking those smaller DBs and smaller speed linebackers, and you have a decent running back to run through the hole, then you've broken the game open. Busted with a 68-yard run for a touchdown. Even with a pass-happy offense. You can do that. But if you got somebody who stuffs the run, to me, he's the best run stuffer. And he can pass rush and get pressure up the middle. Nothing disrupts a quarterback more than pressure up the middle. They're so used to pressure coming off the ends and dodging the pressure, stepping up and then getting out of the pocket to the left or to the right, or getting around the edge rusher who's supposed to have outside containment and then losing it. Quarterbacks are so used to that. But if you got one, even a mobile quarterback, if you got one that gets pressure up the middle, you will terrorize a quarterback all night. Quarterback, and you don't even need to blitz anybody. You don't. If you got the edge, you got decent edge rushers and a great pass rush up the middle, you don't need blitzing. But of course, most teams can't do that. So we understand the blitz, and we understand, especially what the Chiefs did to Lamar Jackson in that AFC Championship game. It was brilliant. But Christian Wilkins, to me, is the number one player in free agency. I could give Chris Jones a number 2 just because he has championship experience. He understands, playing hard when you're tired and playing all those extra games. But also that is a wear and tear factor that you want to key in on, especially with going to the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl so many times. He has so much more wear and tear on him, even if he's only 2 years older than Christian Wilkins. Let's see here. And 2, again, who's going to want to pay a 30-year-old defensive tackle like a boatload of money? That's a tough ask. That's a tough ask. I would say maybe a longer term deal, because all the teams now, are giving out shorter contracts with more money. So you can get a contract for 3 years for the amount of money that you would normally you can only get for maybe 6 to 7 years. You can get the same amount of money now in 3 years in a contract. So yeah, it's that to me is the I don't want to say elephant in the room, but that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to free agency now, and the value that people place on a certain player, place on a certain position, and how these players are commanding these large contracts now. And it's like, Tyreek Hill, his contract almost up, and he's still got plenty to go. He could very well leave the Dolphins, go to a team that he think is more championship caliber, and be like, hey, let's go win the Super Bowl. Like, his contract is almost up. In fact, I think this is his last year. He only signed a 3-year deal with Miami, but it was a fat boatload of money for 3 years. But by the time that contract is up, and I've said this before, he can go to another team and pursue another ring if he wants to. As long as he doesn't go back to the Chiefs. Do not. Please don't let him go back there. He could go back there. That's scary. Do you understand that? He could go back to the Chiefs. We don't want that. I think he'd be great with the Ravens. I would love to have him as a Raider, of course, but I know that he's not going to, because we got Davante Adams, and Davante Adams are number 1. We're not going to have 2 number 1s. I get it. Even though it would be so marvelous, it would be the greatest. He would be a great Raider. But I think in terms of what is available, who doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver and all that good stuff, man, that would be, him and Lamar, oh my goodness. Wow. Just saying. Anyway, Kirk Cousins touted, by NFL.com as number 2. I get that, because of the shortage of quarterbacks that are in free agency, you'll put him as the best quarterback available. But of all these free agents, he's the number 2? No. 36 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. He's already not a mobile quarterback. So even with what he can do, and sometimes what he needs to do in order to move around in the pocket, he's going to be limited in even that. It's going to be like Drew Bledsoe back there. And then to me, his decision making, if you saw the whole, even before that the quarterback thing came out on Netflix, that series, and it was featured Pat Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, and you see inside, what he goes through as a quarterback and whatnot. I saw that in him before that even came out. I saw the conflict of him when it comes to making bad decisions versus making good decisions, and then getting frustrated by things that, to me, he really shouldn't be getting frustrated by. Now, you say, oh, how can you say that? You've never been a quarterback. Look, I've been a football player and I've been around quarterbacks. I've understood quarterbacks. I played quarterback when I was very little. But I just, to me, he would fit good for a team that's really bad that doesn't have a quarterback and kind of raise their morale. Even he could go back to the Vikings, but to me, he's not one of those that's going to take your team to a Super Bowl, even if you're just a quarterback away. I don't see that unless he just, like I said, if they're just a quarterback away and he doesn't have to do much, then okay. But then, I mean, this dude has made some of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. I mean, there's been flashes where he's really good, but then it's just like it's bad. When Kirk Cousins is good, he's really good. Not great, but good. But when he's bad, it is the most awfulest thing to see in football. Because I'm like, how can you make that throw? Your guy wasn't even close to the ball, and you made that throw, and it got picked. You threw it right to the defender, even if the receiver is breaking the route. That's so far away. Like, what are you doing? Like I said, maybe it's just best for him to go back to the Vikings if that's where he's comfortable. That's what he's familiar with. Justin Jefferson is familiar with him. But I mean, if he's a free agent and they haven't re-signed him yet, and he's really what is best for them, why haven't the Vikings got him re-signed by now? 36-year-old coming off a torn Achilles, doesn't matter what position you're playing. That's questionable. So number 2 overall free agent, you missed me with that. Danielle Hunter as an edge rusher, only age 29, coming off a holdout. That's the only thing where I'm thinking people might be hesitant to deal with him because of the holdout. Look, lots of players hold out, but doesn't mean that makes it any easier for NFL teams to want to deal with them. But Hunter's productive holdout last summer led to a 1-year deal up to $20 million with a guarantee the team could not tag him. So you can get that written into your contract now too. Okay. He proceeded to rack up 16.5 sacks, proving again he can transcend any scheme. He would probably be my number 2. He would be my number 2. It would be Christian Wilkins number 1, and then Danielle Hunter number 2. As far as top free agents this year, this offseason. You got Tyron Smith. Definitely if you need an offensive tackle. Offensive linemen can play well into their 30s as long as they stay in decent shape and don't have too many injuries. They can be productive depending on the type of offense. Especially if you're just talking about pass rush and they don't do much run blocking. Next, you got Saquon Barkley. My thing is a trick. It's a trip with the 3 running backs, and they've been brought up before in terms of durability. What do you give a running back? But I'm very interested to see where these 3 guys go. One of them being Josh Jacobs, whom I'm hoping the Raiders keep, but we don't know what's going to happen if he wants to stay or not, if the Raiders give him what he wants. He already was holding out last year, and then because of that, he missed the productive offseason. He missed the offseason, wasn't productive. The offensive line needs to get better. They got 3 guys on expiring contracts on the starting offensive line, so I understand that that's going to be a severe draft need. So I would say after we get a quarterback in the draft, we got to draft at least 3 to 4 offensive linemen because we're hurting. Because who's to say if those guys with expiring contract are going to want to stay? And should we keep them? Because the offensive line just overall wasn't that good for the Raiders. But going to the running backs, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Who do you take? Who do you get? All of them have an injury history. I will say that Josh Jacobs has the least. Josh has the least severely sidelining history of injuries. He hasn't had season-ending injuries. He's had injuries that have taken him out for several games. but he hasn't had like he gets an injury and 4 games in and he's out for the rest of the season, or he gets injury and halfway through the season and he's out for the rest of the season. He hasn't had that. Saquon has had that, and then Derrick Henry has had has had that to where it was like it was season ending, but they went to the playoffs, so he came back in the playoffs. To me, it was still season ending, even though they went to the playoffs and he didn't do much in the playoffs. I wasn't expecting that because to me, he really shouldn't have been there anyway with that foot injury. But yeah, I would say Josh Jacobs is the least, his injury history is the least severe of the three. So that to me would make him probably the best commodity. If he has a full off season and he's not holding out like he did last year and then signed that 1-year deal and then got in with the Raiders and didn't play well, if he has a full off season and he's ready to go, I think he's better than what he did last year, regardless of what team he's on. But that begs the question, if the Raiders are not able to keep him, then who do the Raiders go after? I know Saquon is younger, but to me, he's more fragile. And the thing is, we got Zamir White who can kind of do some of the things that he can do. I would love to have Derrick Henry as a Raider. That would be but again, can he stay healthy? Is he healthy enough to be effective? I'm thinking of the Derrick Henry with no injuries. I'm thinking of the Derrick Henry with no injuries, and that Derrick Henry is not available. So I still think the best bet would be to keep Josh Jacobs, and he needs to go back to 28. This whole switching your number to 8 thing, whatever his reason is, dude, you was better when you was 28. Go back to 28, please. Go back to 28. But yeah, and it's not a knock against Saquon. If he was the best available and he could stay injury free for an entire year, I would love to have Saquon. But that always scares me. With the ankles, the legs, the knees. I'm always leery of Saquon's health, which is why they don't want to, give running backs long-term contracts. I understand it. But you got to pay them something, and you got to pay them something of what they are valuable, of what they are valued. True value, not what most teams are doing, which is undervaluing them. But yeah, that'll conclude today's podcast. We'll get more into this top 100 as we continue to go down, including the best wide receiver available in free agency, which might be surprising, but we'll get into that next week on Scout Team Sports. Once again, I appreciate all of my subscribers. Please continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe as we continue to grow this channel. Once again, believe until you stop breathing. We'll see you in the next week. Be on the lookout for Wednesday nights, midweek scramble on Scout Team Sports. Have a great day.